a young woman full of dreams embarks on what should have been an ordinary hike with her boyfriend. Hours later, she's lying lifeless at the bottom of a ravine. Was it a tragic accident, or was she pushed to her death? This is the chilling case of Rhonda Casto, a promising young mother whose life ended too soon under suspicious circumstances. Hey, true crime fans, I am your host, Eamon, and I'm thrilled to share crime tales across times with you. Each episode, we'll explore a new case, examining the evidence and discussing the twists and turns. My goal is to create a community where we can discuss these cases, share our thoughts, and learn from each other. So, let's get started. Rhonda Casto was a vibrant 23-year-old woman with a passion for life and a bright future ahead. She was a loving mother to her baby daughter and an aspiring model, determined to build a successful career. Those close to her described her as smart, driven, and full of energy, a young woman who could light up any room with her presence. But beneath her bright exterior, Rhonda had concerns that she only shared with those closest to her. She had spoken about feeling uneasy in her relationship with Stephen Nichols, her boyfriend of several years. At times, she hinted at wanting to leave, but something always seemed to hold her back. On March 16, 2009, Rhonda and Nichols set off on a hike along the Eagle Creek Trail in Oregon, a place known for its stunning beauty, but also its dangerous, narrow pathways and steep drop-offs. The couple often hiked together, but this time, something felt different. The day was damp and overcast, with patches of the trail slick from recent rain. As they made their way up the rugged terrain, Rhonda sent one last text to her best friend, saying she'd call later. But that call never came. Just hours later, Rhonda was dead, her body found 150 feet below the trail's edge. Nichols claimed she had suddenly sprinted ahead of him before slipping and plummeting down the cliffside. But those who knew Rhonda found this story hard to believe. She wasn't reckless, and she wasn't the type to run blindly along a dangerous trail. When news of her death spread, her family's grief quickly turned to suspicion. Had this really been an accident? Or had Nichols lured her to this remote location with something far more sinister in mind? Stephen Nichols was 10 years older than Rhonda and had been in a relationship with her for several years. To outsiders, their life together seemed stable. Nichols was a former financial advisor, and they had a young daughter. But behind closed doors, things were far from perfect. Rhonda had confided in friends and family that she feared Nichols. She once told her mother, "One day he's either going to propose to me or kill me." It was a chilling statement, one that would later haunt those who loved her. Nichols had a history of controlling behavior. Friends noticed that Rhonda, once full of energy and ambition, had started to withdraw. She became quieter, more reserved, and seemed burdened by something she wouldn't openly discuss. Her best friend recalled a conversation where Rhonda hinted at being trapped, saying, "I have to get out of this before it's too late." But what made authorities truly suspicious was the money trail. Months before Rhonda's death, Nichols took out a $1 million life insurance policy on her. Not only that, but he allegedly pressured her into signing the documents, despite her hesitation. The policy, investigators later discovered, had been fast-tracked, meaning Nichols had arranged for approval in record time. Then came the eerie foreshadowing. Rhonda had recurring dreams of dying young, before the age of 25. Nichols reportedly joked to a friend about pushing her off a cliff. And just weeks before the hike, Nichols made an unsettling comment. "If anything ever happens to Rhonda, I'll be set for life." Was this all a coincidence? Or was Nichols setting the stage for something far more sinister? Emergency responders were confronted with a horrific scene when they arrived at the location of Rhonda Casto's deadly fall. Her body was found 150 feet below the trail, surrounded by jagged rocks, with her limbs severely injured from the impact. Stephen Nichols, Rhonda's boyfriend and the sole witness, was nearby, appearing distraught. He provided a consistent account of events. Rhonda had abruptly run ahead, lost her balance, and fallen off the edge. When authorities arrived at the scene of Rhonda Casto's fatal fall on March 16, 2009, they initially treated it as a tragic accident. The Eagle Creek Trail in Oregon was notorious for its dangerous, narrow paths, and several hikers had fallen to their deaths in the past. At first glance, Rhonda's case seemed like another unfortunate misstep on the treacherous terrain. Stephen Nichols, the only witness, told investigators that Rhonda had been in good spirits during their hike. He claimed she had suddenly sprinted ahead on the wet trail, slipped, and tumbled 150 feet down a rocky cliff. His story was simple. It was an unfortunate accident. Despite Nichols' account, first responders noted that Rhonda's injuries were severe but unusual. A fall of this magnitude typically results in head trauma or rolling injuries, yet Rhonda had landed in a feet-first position. However, at that time, forensic experts did not scrutinize this detail deeply enough. Authorities conducted a brief investigation, but there were no immediate signs of foul play. Nichols was cooperative, and no physical evidence at the scene pointed directly to a crime. There were no obvious struggle marks on Rhonda's body or indications of a physical altercation. Even though Rhonda's mother, Julia Simmons, immediately voiced concerns about Nichols, investigators did not consider him a suspect. Julia told detectives that her daughter had repeatedly expressed fear for her life, even saying, "He's either going to propose to me or kill me." However, authorities dismissed this as speculation without further inquiry. One of the biggest missed opportunities was the life insurance policy. This should have been a major red flag, but at the time, investigators did not look into his financial records or potential motives. Without any eyewitnesses, forensic evidence, or an obvious cause for suspicion, the case was closed as an accidental death. Nichols was never arrested or charged, and Rhonda's death certificate officially listed the cause as undetermined. Nichols moved on with his life, eventually relocating to China with their infant daughter. For the next 6 years, Rhonda's family pushed for justice, insisting that her death was no accident. But in 2015, everything changed. Authorities in Oregon quietly reopened the case after reviewing Nichols' travel history. Following Rhonda's death, he had moved to China with their daughter, seemingly trying to start a new life far away from scrutiny. Investigators grew more suspicious when they learned that Nichols had avoided the U.S. for years, only returning for short visits. With fresh eyes on the case, forensic experts reanalyzed Rhonda's autopsy report. One crucial detail stood out: the way her body had landed. Nichols had claimed that Rhonda slipped and tumbled down the cliff, but the forensic analysis told a different story. If she had simply lost her footing and fallen naturally, her body would have tumbled head over heels down the steep terrain. Instead, she had landed feet first, as if she had been pushed or jumped with force. This discovery changed everything. Prosecutors now had scientific evidence contradicting Nichols' account, and they were ready to charge him. In February 2015, Nichols was arrested at the San Francisco International Airport after arriving from China. He was charged with murder in the first degree. His reaction? Calm, emotionless. He denied any wrongdoing and insisted that Rhonda's death had been a freak accident. But investigators had more than just forensic evidence. Witnesses, including Rhonda's closest friends, stepped forward to share details that painted a much darker picture of Nichols. During interviews, Rhonda's best friend revealed that Nichols had been controlling and emotionally abusive throughout their relationship. He dictated what Rhonda wore, monitored her phone calls, and made her feel trapped. He had allegedly told her, "If you ever leave me, I'll make sure you don't take our daughter with you." Even more chilling, Rhonda had privately admitted that Nichols had physically assaulted her before. She was afraid of what he might do, but felt financially dependent on him, making it harder to leave. Then came the most disturbing revelation. Rhonda's younger sister claimed that Nichols had abused her when she was a minor. This accusation cast an even darker shadow over his character, suggesting that he was capable of far worse than anyone had previously imagined. As the trial loomed, Nichols' defense team fought back hard. They claimed that Rhonda had been depressed, struggling with substance abuse, and had even mentioned suicide in the past. They painted a picture of a young woman who had acted recklessly and may have intentionally jumped to her death. But Rhonda's family fiercely denied these claims. They insisted that she had been excited about her future, especially about raising her daughter and pursuing her modeling career. The prosecution countered by highlighting Nichols' financial motives. He stood to gain $1 million from Rhonda's life insurance policy, a policy he had increased just months before she died. Just as it seemed like Nichols would stand trial for murder, the case took a shocking turn. In 2017, rather than facing trial, Nichols pleaded guilty, but not to murder. Instead, he struck a deal and pleaded guilty to criminally negligent homicide. Under this plea agreement, he was sentenced to just 19 months in prison, far less than what Rhonda's family had hoped for. But since he had already spent 14 months in jail before trial, he only served a few additional months before walking free. Rhonda's family was devastated. Her mother, Julia Simmons, openly called Nichols a monster and expressed her frustration that he hadn't received a harsher sentence. She vowed to fight for justice in Rhonda's name and to raise awareness about the dangers of abusive relationships. As for Nichols, he maintained his innocence even after his guilty plea. He moved back to China, where he continued his life far away from the people who still believed he had gotten away with murder. The case of Rhonda Casto remains one of the most controversial true crime stories in recent history. Was justice truly served? Or did Nichols manipulate the system to escape a more fitting punishment? What do you think? Was this a tragic accident, or was it a carefully calculated crime? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking true crime stories from around the world. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant. This is Crime Tales Across Times, signing off.